What skills slash personal attributes are most important to being successful?
To me, I would probably contribute that to personality. Um, that'll probably roll in the stage presence. I think it's so important for somebody to master being themselves and know who that is, and being able to embellish that on stage in front of millions of people is just it's key to anybody. One thing you have to do is be comfortable in your own skin, but to be able to convey that message over to your own crowd is huge.
Okay. What personal advice would you give to someone wanting to pursue this career?
Personal advice that I would give to somebody wanting to pursue this career is to literally treat it like their own business. I think musicians get so drowned in the art, in the music, that they forget that it's also a business. Uh, so, you know, I would tell somebody, hey, if you're not, you know, polished on business acumen, if you're not polished on taxes, if you're not polished on, the way you need to structure yourself as an entity, the way you need to, account for all of your expenses, the way you need to put your budget together, from big stuff to small stuff. If you're not ready to approach it like a business, I think you need to second guess doing this.
How does your image contribute to your music?
Man, it's not only myself, but it's every musician. I think at the end of the day, if you want a piece of art that will live forever, I think you have to stand for something. And I think that's a 24/7 job. I think your image is everything to portray your music, because if your image is one thing but your music is another, it's going to be some discord there when it comes down to your listeners and what they digest. But if you personally embody what your music is telling your crowd, I think that's the foundation to making your music last forever.
How do you book shows or gigs in order to make a living out of this career?
For one, it's connections, just like every other thing in the in the business world. I think you got to network properly with other fellow musicians. You got to network properly with other venues. You got to be able to network properly with just people who love music, your crowd, your demographics. And once that word of mouth starts to spread, you can start to connect the dot on the business end, and then reach out to different cities after you build your buzz up, and you really see what you can put out there.
What are your typical mistakes or misconceptions people make when they try to pursue this career?
The typical misconceptions and mistakes that people make is one, thinking that just because they're the best musician locally or in their state, that everything else is going to take care of itself. No. Everybody on the mainstream media, when you turn on the TV, they probably have 20 people behind them that's way better than them. You know, Music is a package. It's a package deal. It's one, being unique. It's one, being comfortable in your own skin and being able to communicate that with your crowd. But it's also business. So being able to tie that all together and also put a team around you that you can trust and also elevate you to make you successful, that's a big thing. So I think the biggest mistake is just thinking that your passion and your hobby can do all the work for you.
When and why did you start playing the trumpet?
I started playing the trumpet in the seventh grade after multiple years of uh, stealing my older brother's trumpet and learning how to play on my own, and formally learning how to play once I got in school. I think I just seen him play for numerous amount of years. I just thought it was cool. So once I started to play and pick it up, it just became a habit after a while. And I was lucky enough and blessed enough to get in the hands of some good teachers along the way that molded me and kind of cultivated my talent. And one thing led to another, and the rest is history.
Okay. Do you have a favorite tune or remember the first tune that you ever played?
Favorite tunes, man, there's so many. But if I was to say a couple of my first tunes I ever try to play is Carnival of Venice and What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. I think as a kid, I think that's a popular music worldwide, but as a kid, that was one of the first jazz songs I heard. And I just stuck to it. I loved it. Still to this day, it's one of my favorite songs. And Yeah, I just like the meaning of it. I think it's just a perfect example of a piece of art that is timeless and that people now are even still singing it. So it kind of speaks for itself.
What famous musicians do you admire the most and why?
Man, famous musicians: Michael Jackson, Miles Davis, uh, man, Roy Hargrove, you know, Chet Baker. I say these musicians because they never let time defeat them. They only got better as time went along, and they only allowed their music to evolve. So I'm a big supporter of really pushing music into the future and allowing it to evolve into something else, and allowing young musicians to even look up to the fact that, hey, I can be unique, and it's okay to be unique. And if we have to push this envelope forward, so be it. So I think those musicians really did that, and they were able to do that and sell records at the same time.
How do you personally handle mistakes during a performance?
There's no mistakes. I think if you know your art truly in and out, if you land on the wrong note or if you say the wrong thing, I think your energy, I think your your show itself. I think the foundation of everything musically will take care of it all and will uh, allow you to connect the dots. But once you start to let it rattle you, once you start to let it become nervous to you, I think that's when mistakes come about. But if you have in your mind that there is no mistakes, and that everything that I spill out, flaws and all, it's kind of like life. You got to be able to accept the flaws of life. You got to be able to accept the perfections of life all together in one swoop, and you got to be able to know that it all is there for a reason, and it all works out for the greater good. And it's the same thing in music, whether it's a mistake or whether it's not a mistake. You got to be able to approach it like it's meant to be there for the greater good of the song or the show or the album that you're putting together.
Mhm. What's the hardest part that you've experienced for being a musician?
The hardest part was kind of going back to what that last question was. I think a lot of musicians are perfectionists. And I think they kind of shy away from flaws. But once you realize that the flaws make you beautiful, just like a person, your flaws is what makes you you. Your imperfection is what makes you you. Your mistakes is what make you you. And I believe once you get over that hump and start to really embrace who you are individually as a musician, flaws and all, I think that's when you can really be honest with yourself. And as you're honest with yourself, that's when you can grow at a way more rapid pace than someone who is not honest with themselves.
What do you consider the best part about being a musician is?
The best part of being a musician, excuse me, is I would say, for one, two reasons actually. For one, it's something that nobody can take from you. You can never get fired. You can never get chastised. Really, It's something that's in you. It's God given. It's a gift that is placed in you to do what you need to do with it and to live out your purpose. And for two, the second reason I believe is because music is really a language that is spoken far more eloquent than words. I think music is a universal language. I think it brings the entire world together. I can be sitting across from somebody that doesn't speak a lick of English, but if I play the right chord over the right progression at the right time in the song, it'll make them tap their feet just as hard as somebody who does understand English. So I think when you really get to the depths of music, I think it's something that's spiritual, and it's something that really can connect to humans, all from all nations, everywhere, way more than just simple words can.
Okay. Looking back, if you had to do it all over again, would you still choose to pursue this career?
No doubt. No doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. I'll probably even go harder.
All right. Well, that's the end of our interview. I appreciate you answering these questions.
Peace.